The giant blows the seeds into the air. The moment the seed comes into contact with water, it began to unfurl wildly. In an instant, 4 massive vines burst through the ground. The giants have been starving for thousands of years. They can't wait to taste human flesh again. As the horn sounds, the giant army launches an all-out charge. They come diving down the vines. Jack is the first to spot this horrifying scene, but it's too late to run. Before the king can even react, the giants are already closing in from behind. Fortunately, the vines block their path, buying them a slim chance to survive. At this moment, the castle receives the alarm as well. The soldiers immediately pour oil into the moat, then ready their flaming arrows and brace for attack. Once the king reaches the castle, the general gives the order, and the oil on the water ignites instantly. But just as the soldiers are about to raise the drawbridge, they realize Jack has been left outside. As the drawbridge starts to rise, Jack, riding his white horse, makes a mighty leap. Though he makes it into the castle, he also lets the two-headed giant climb onto the drawbridge. At this critical moment, the general immediately orders his men to fire arrows. The two-headed giant loses his grip and plunges straight into the inferno. But what no one expects is that the two-headed giant doesn't burn to death. Instead, he swims with the current right into the city. Just when everyone thinks they're safe for now, 2 giant hooks suddenly latch onto the drawbridge. The giants pull down together. Against such overwhelming force, humans don't stand a chance. Seeing the soldiers putting up such fierce resistance to speed up the siege, the giants set trees ablaze and hurl them into the city like madmen. The entire castle instantly becomes a raging inferno. As the giants are about to break through, Jack quickly leads the princess toward the secret passage. But nobody expects that the two-headed giant bursts up through the sewers, catching the two trying to escape. They race up to the second floor, but the giant still manages to grab the princess. At this critical moment, Jack grabs a giant axe and strikes at the giant. But he forgets the creature has 2 heads. Both of them end up in the giant's clutches. Just as they're about to be devoured, Jack suddenly remembers the magic bean in his necklace. He seizes the chance to throw it into the giant's mouth. The magic bean travels down the esophagus into the giant's stomach. The moment it touches moisture, excruciating pain strikes instantly. Even though the two-headed giant clutches his throat desperately, it still can't stop the magic bean from growing wildly. Meanwhile, the giants outside have breached the final line of defense. Watching the giants closing in step by step, the soldiers are completely helpless. Just as the general prepares for a desperate last stand, the giants suddenly drop their weapons and obediently kneel before the humans. As everyone turns to look back, they discover that Jack has already defeated the two-headed giant and obtained the magic crown. With one command from Jack, all the giants retreat back to the top of the clouds. A massive white foot comes crashing down from above. The man immediately dove underwater in terror, watching the lamb beside him get snatched up and devoured in one gulp by the giant. Jack couldn't help but let out a stream of bubbles. The giant instantly became alert. Just as he was about to be discovered, John suddenly popped his head out of the water nearby. Seeing his companion about to be eaten, he actually wore a smug schadenfreude expression. But he didn't realize that this subtle movement had already been spotted by the giant. Before he could even react, the tree behind him was ripped out by its roots. By the time he sensed the danger closing in, it was already too late. John ran for his life, but the giant caught up in just a few strides. But just as it was sizing up its prey, a sharp pain suddenly shot through the bottom of its foot. It whipped around, only to find another victim had delivered himself right to its doorstep. Facing this colossal creature hundreds of feet tall, they were completely powerless to fight back. And just like that, both men became the giant's captives. Only Jack, hiding in the water, managed to narrowly escape. Back at home, the giant placed its prey on a sheet of rolled-out dough, sprinkled on some pepper, then slathered on its special sauce, and finally rolled it up bit by bit. It skewered them one by one with toothpicks. And just like that, the delicious meal was all prepped. As it patiently waited for the food to finish cooking, it had no idea that danger was creeping up on it. Jack suddenly grabbed a dagger and leaped down from above, plunging the blade deep into its spine. The searing pain made the giant scream in agony. It frantically tried to pull out the blade, but its arms couldn't reach. In its panic, it stumbled and crashed into the wall, driving the entire knife completely into its body. The giant immediately collapsed to the ground. In the end, both companions were successfully rescued. The moment the seed touches water, it instantly unleashes tremendous energy. The two didn't figure out what had happened. A massive vine shoots violently up from the ground, seeing the princess trapped beneath the table. The man rushes forward to help, but another vine bursts up from beneath the ground. It sends the man flying through the air. A barrel gets knocked over, with a chance to escape right in front of her. The princess struggles with all her might to break free. Just as she's about to escape, another vine seals off the exit completely. In this critical moment, Jack grabs an axe and charges forward. But who would have thought the vines keep multiplying? They actually lift the entire house into the air. Jack immediately grabs onto the doorframe. When he looks down, they've already been carried hundreds of feet into the sky. With no sign of the vines stopping, Jack frantically hacks at the vines with his axe. The door finally opens. The princess quickly pulls Jack inside, but right at that moment, fortunately, Jack manages to grab the princess's hand in time, but just as she's about to pull him up, disaster strikes again. The king soon receives word of what's happened. To rescue the princess, he orders his men to cut down the beanstalk. After the soldiers drive iron stakes into it, they figure that with the horse's strength, they can uproot the entire vine. But who could have known that under this external force? The entire beanstalk suddenly comes to life. Chaos erupts instantly. Before anyone can process what's happening, the base of the vine suddenly snaps. Without support, it comes crashing down. Little do they know, Jack, who's miraculously still alive, is climbing down with the princess at this very moment, as the main stalk keeps collapsing. In this desperate moment, Jack wraps his arms around the princess, grabs a nearby vine and jumps. They swing wildly back and forth. As they get closer and closer to the ground, Jack times it perfectly and launches himself toward a haystack. But what he doesn't realize, there's a sharp blade hidden behind the hay. Luckily, they stop just in time, narrowly avoiding disaster. Just when they think the nightmare is finally over, they don't realize the giants above the clouds have spotted it too. Little do they know this tiny seed will bring catastrophic destruction to mankind, because its origins are far from ordinary. Legend has it that 10,000 years ago, a giant hundreds of feet tall climbed up from below the cliff. The man froze in sheer terror. Just as the giant was about to make his move, the man suddenly pulled out a ring glowing with golden light. From that moment on, his destiny was completely rewritten. When he appeared again, he had become the new king of the giants, because this seemingly insignificant ring was actually a sacred artifact forged from a giant's heart. Legend has it that 10,000 years ago, magic monks seeking the legendary god cultivated magic beans that led to the heavenly realm. The moment they touched water, the beans would grow wildly. The monks climbed up the vines and finally reached the legendary Paradise Island. But what greeted them wasn't divine beings, but a horde of terrifying bloodthirsty giants. The monks were brutally slaughtered, and the giants descended to earth along the vines. Everywhere they went, blood flowed like rivers. To stop this catastrophe, humans fused a giant's heart with the magic beans and forged a magical crown with the power of command. The moment the king placed it on his head, all the giants fell to their knees in submission. The benevolent king didn't wipe them out completely. He simply ordered them back to the clouds. Then he commanded the vines to be cut down, permanently sealing the passage to the human world. From then on, the world finally returned to peace. But then one day, a man named Jack appeared and shattered that peace once again. He had intended to sell his family's horse for some money, but ran into a mysterious monk. The monk desperately needed the horse and pulled out some strange beans as payment. Jack looked skeptical, but the monk whispered, "These aren't ordinary beans. They lead to heaven. If he delivered the beans to the monastery, he'd receive a generous reward." Jack took them skeptically, but forgot the warning about keeping them away from water. That night, a torrential rain poured down. One bean accidentally fell through the floorboards, and the instant it touched water, the vine grew wildly like a monster. Jack and the princess were both swept up into the sky. To rescue his daughter, the king immediately sent men to climb the vine. Little did he know this mission would lead the greedy duke to discover the crown's secret. Already consumed by ambition, he seized the opportunity to command the giants down the vine, returning them to the human world. He thought he could use the giants' power to rule the world, but he never anticipated that this move would actually lead humanity to total destruction.